What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Fuel for Growth podcast with myself, Niles, and Leonard. Today, we're going to be talking about self confidence and self belief. How do you believe in yourself? How do you know what you truly want out of life? Well, we're here to try and give you guys some advice and help you figure that out. You know what I mean? We're going to talk about our own experiences, our own stories, and hopefully you can extrapolate some information from that and go from there. Yo, Leonard, how are you doing today, my man?
Man, doing good, man. Excited for this episode. Part two of the part three, man. So, man, I'm looking forward to this self belief, self confidence.
Straight up, bro. Straight up. You know, this is a great topic, man, because obviously we talked about self sabotage last episode, and we were saying about how ourselves, like we struggle with this to this day, right? Doesn't matter what you're doing in life. To this day, I still struggle with self sabotage. You know, always kind of like doing things I shouldn't be doing, and we're always just trying to improve. And I think ultimately, if I'm going to be honest, like a big belief of mine is always that like you have got to always believe that you are improving. You know what I mean? And in doing so, actually improve, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And taking the steps to actually set you up for success to actually, achieve those goals, actually setting achievable goals that, because, you got to set little bitty things for yourself. If you set a goal and then you never achieve it, you start getting hard on yourself like, man, can I really do this? But some goals are hard to achieve. So you got to give yourself some goals that you know that you can achieve. So you build up that self confidence, you build up that belief within yourself that, okay, I can do this small steps at a time, right? I've always seen that visual of where it gets the two ladders side by side and it shows the person that's taking the little steps is all the way at the top while that person that's trying to make the 6 foot steps is still struggling with step one, right? You just got to try to break it down and give yourself winnable goals that you can achieve.
Dude, that's literally facts, man. It's setting yourself an achievable goal, and as we always say, start racking up the small wins. You know what I mean? Start racking up the small wins. You know, I've got to say, like, I've been in situations before in my life where, you know, I remember I was living down south. I was by myself, right? I had no people around me. Literally just living on my own. Had my own place, renting myself and everything. I was what 20 at the time, and like this was a big obviously step for me because I'd gone from living with my parents straight to living on my own, and I was 280 miles away from them, right? So I couldn't like just get there, like walk around the corner. I was there, right? I was like full on 5 hour drive, right? If I wanted to go see them, or like a 4.5 hour train ride. It was just like there was no way that like I could just like go around the corner, and so it was like only over the phone. And I'll tell you something that when you're going through a tough time, and you're struggling to really have confidence in what you're doing, and you're just struggling to like understand it, like, is this the right path? There's something I want to say, which is that like when you're by yourself, right, and you're completely alone, that's when you truly know what your beliefs actually are. Because we've spoke a couple times on this channel about relationships and things like this, when you adjust who you are to suit other people, right? And because you don't have boundaries, things like this. I'll tell you something that when it comes to self confidence, self belief, being on your own is ideal to understanding who you are, because when you're going through struggle and you don't know where you're going to turn, bro, when you're just by yourself, you truly know what you actually believe in. Because I tell you something, when I was by myself at first, I was very doubtful, and I made a lot of big mistakes. But what's interesting is that that time alone taught me who I truly was as a person and what I truly believed in. And I've been able to look at those beliefs, analyze them, and say, you know what? Should I really get rid of some of these? Because self belief, you've also got to understand that there is self limiting beliefs, right? Like if you could actually just believe in nothing, you would technically have the ability to do everything, because you don't believe in good, but you also don't believe in bad. And you don't limit yourself because there is no right. So, what's your thoughts on that, man?
But it's exactly that, right? If you don't stand for something, you're gonna fall for anything, right? And it's also the mentality, or I heard once too, is the thing about being alone is it's not that you feel like you don't have anyone, but you feel like nobody has you. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that nobody does have you like you. So you got to take care of yourself. You got to understand who you are. You got to speak good things into your life. A lot of people will be bad on themselves, and we've talked about this too. Just the little things. Even I've said it in my past, like, oh, I go do something, like, oh, dumbass, what you doing? Oh, that was stupid, and in a joking manner. But my body don't know. Those are things that kind of start hurting your self belief and your self consciousness by doing those small little things. So just how you talk to yourself, not expecting perfection from yourself. A lot of people will be expecting perfection every time. Well, I set the goals and I missed a few. This and that. Like you're not gonna hit all of them. You need to understand that perfection is not going to be always achievable. You don't need to constantly compare yourself to other people's success and how quick they done it, how they done it, what they're doing now. You don't. Those are all things that slowly start to deteriorate and tear down your self belief and your self conscious confidence. So no, you just need to understand that sometimes being in that lonely place helps you understand who you are and what you actually stand for. But then you have to come out and still be who you are. If you have to dim your light to help somebody else's light shine, then you're around the wrong people.
Straight up, man. That's straight up. And I'll tell you something that, you know, when it comes to building that self confidence, Alex Hormozy talks a lot about the fact that you should have like build a stack of um hard evidence that you are who you say you are, right? If you build a stack of hard evidence that you are who you say you are, then you will ultimately always believe in yourself because you have the evidence to do so. So this is why the hardest part is getting the ball rolling though, because that's when you don't have the evidence and you're like, I'm going to be this person. And it's like you have to be blindly believe that you can do it. Now, ultimately, though, there is something more interesting to that, which is that you don't have to actually fully believe that you even deserve something as long as you don't limit yourself to what you're capable of doing, right? So, if you, the best way to look at this is I made this comparison, and my friend, great story. So I've got a great guy called Carl, right, a good friend of mine, and I won't say his second name for the sake of the internet, but this guy Carl, I'll tell you something. He turned around to me and he was talking about I was talking to him on a video about the fact that people who don't deserve it still get success. And he told me, he turned around to me, he said, he went, that is the most stupid, like overthinking way I've ever heard you speak. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, of course, like people who don't deserve it get success. He was like, if you put in the work, you're gonna get it anyway. It doesn't matter whether you deserve it or not. And I was like, you know what? Like that's straight up. That's truth. So it's like you don't actually have to believe that you deserve it as long as you put in the work to do so. So the only thing that will stop you is if you limit yourself. If you say, I can't do X thing because I'm only this smart, instead be like, you know what, I'm this smart, but I can still do X thing. That is a non self limiting belief. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro, there's been studies out here that's even proven it. And I can't remember. I think it was Indiana University. It might have been somebody else. Y'all can double check me on that. But that they showed the difference between confidence and competence. That certain situations that having confidence will get you and land that situation for you a lot more than competence was. So, like for instance, in job interviews, you would sit there and some people would show up with confidence, but not have the competence to actually do what they say. They're having confidence in what they're saying and would get the job, where some people will be competent in what they're looking for in a job, but don't have the confidence to actually sell themselves. So the person with the more confidence gets the job when they might not actually be the more competent one, to your point there. So it's having those having that self belief just at the end of the day to understand of what you are, who you are, and what you can do. And a lot of people are tough on themselves. And I tell people this a lot is that every day that you've had a bad day that you thought you wasn't going to make it through, you made it through. Every day that you think is a hard day that you don't think I'm not going to make it through this day, that day almost killed me. Well, guess what? It didn't. It didn't make you weaker. It made you stronger. So that right there is self within it's proof within itself to show you how competent you are at doing things, and that should help build you with your confidence. For all the bad days you've had and that should have took you out, you are undefeated on your bad days. They haven't took you out yet, so that right there should help you build self-confidence.
You know what? Facts again, man. If you're still breathing, you're still going, right? There's still a chance. And you know, a great person to who lives this comparison is my dad. My dad, for all the opportunities he's had, he used to be a DJ, right? And when he was DJing and in this band and stuff, great audio guy, knows his music in and out, and he was fantastic, man. People loved him. They used to call him Mad Mike, right? That's that's the name they gave him. And I'll tell you something. This DJ, where his DJing did, he got offered to go to Japan. He turned down the opportunity because he was expecting things from other people instead of taking the opportunity himself. But guess what? When that opportunity was there and he didn't take it, and then the band fell apart, he didn't look and say, "Well, that's it, it's over." He was like, "Nah, I'm gonna keep going. I still believe." Right, and then he got more opportunities, but he ended up, you know, having kids, right? He ended up having me and my brother, and he ended up getting a bit more settled into things. And all these opportunities kept coming. He kept turning them down, turning them away, and they kept falling through, falling through, falling through. And he admits to this day, he says that, like, he wishes that he took some of the opportunities that he did, but he says at the same time, we don't, it wasn't his God given purpose. We look and we say, you know what, like, he's gone through what he's gone through because he's been able to create life, and he's affected so many people's lives positively. So first off, make that point. But secondly, despite all of these opportunities missed, he still looks at himself and goes, I'm still meant for something. He's like, I'm not entirely sure what it is yet, but he's like, I know that there is something out there that's going to, make me successful in the ways of potentially finances, fame, something along those lines, right? And whether that's vicariously through me, as we get bigger and bigger, whether that's, through doing his own thing, who knows? But he always, always believes in himself nonstop, no matter how many opportunities fell through, no matter how many mistakes he made, no matter how many bad things happened, he believed in himself. And it's like, it's almost like a point of delusion, but I think it's needed. It's necessary, I think, especially in this game. I've come across doubt so many times, and he is a prime example of somebody who just simply refuses to give in. Like you say, he refuses to sit there and say, well, I tried to do this thing, it didn't work out, that's it, my life's over, I've just got to live a normal life. It's like, no, no, no. He was like, no, no, I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing, I'm still going. But despite all health issues, all this other stuff, bro, like, honestly, the guy has been through thick and thin, and yet he's still going.
Yeah, yeah, bro. Because that's what I say all the time. Like, human nature is so weird to me at times, right? Because only like every single day we prove to ourselves how strong we are, how competent we are. Everything's like we was once a being that couldn't walk or talk or even understand the language, yet here we are every day growing, being more improving, and showing that we can constantly learn and adapt to this world and survive. But it seems like as we get older, we become more doubtful in ourselves rather than looking back like all these years. Look at where I was back then and look how I've overcame, I've adjusted, and I've adapted. Rather than saying, okay, I have faith in myself because I've done it in the past, we see the future as a scary thing. Like, I don't know if I can continue to do it. Of course you can. You've been doing it in your past. You have the confidence to do it into your future as well. So it's just weird to me how the human nature will be there no matter how much we learn each day and how much we think we can't get through it. We still don't have that faith, bro. If you're at the gym and you think you can only do 10, and then your trainer gets you to push out 2 more reps or 5 more reps, and you're like, damn, I did 12, I did 15. All right, then the next day you come, he's like, all right, I need 12 today. He's like, nah, I can't do it, bro. You just did 12 yesterday, don't give me that. It's like the only time in life that we were at like that. Like yesterday you just did it, you can do it again today, you got this.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny. I've this crazy thing of people's anxiety for the future. I know a lot of parents out there, and even get like women and guys and things like this. The reason they don't take action, and the reason they don't want their children to take action, or they get scared about things, is because, and I'm giving this example because it's an example that I've been through, and they you got to do something, and the first reaction that they give you is, yeah, but what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? It's like, look, I get you have self preservation because you've gotten a bit older and things, but at the end of the day, what's the point in not? You know what I mean? Like, genuinely, what is the point in not? And it's like, well, you get to spend more time with your family. It's like, okay, cool, but my family is broke. My family isn't going anywhere. Like, what's that gonna do? And at the end of the day, when we die and we pass, the only thing that I think that we take with us is our experiences on this planet. Do I really want my experiences to be, well, I never did anything because I was a bit too afraid of what might happen? No, I want my experience to be, you know what, I went for it anyway. And maybe it didn't work out. Maybe people did die. Maybe I didn't spend enough time with certain people. And I'll be like, oh crap, I wish I did. But at the end of the day, I didn't. However, my experience of life was one that was worth living. You know what I mean? It was one that was full of ups and downs. Right. I don't want to wake up on my deathbed and think to myself, oh man, my life was just always fantastic. Because guess what? I'm going to sit there and think like I won't even know that it was fantastic because I've never been through the downs, right? Same vice versa. I don't want to live a life of all downs because then I'll just be always, it's like I want to be able to live a life where I'm trying to experience things and I'm pushing to go through those ups, and then when I'm on my downs, I'm on my downs, but then I push to go through my ups again. I want it to be a life of constant change and motion, because otherwise, like, brother, what's the point? you know?
Yeah, but it's you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? If you don't think you can do something and you sit there and you don't do it, well, guess what? You're right because you never even tried in the first place. If if you tried and failed, congratulations, you've at least tried, and that's more than what majority of the people will do. So it's not like go out there and try, take that leap. The one thing that sticks into me is the Transformer movie with Shia LaBeouf. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but the first one with them and Bumblebee comes, transforms back into the car, squeals up in front of him, opens up the car door, and he looks at Megan Fox. He's like, "When you look back on your past, do you want to say that you had the guts to get in the car, or was you too scared to get in the car and you walked away?" And that's kind of how I look at life. Do I want to say I was too scared to even try to see if I was able to do it, and just walk away? It's like, no, I want to see even if I'm capable, because otherwise that's going to eat at me for the rest of life. Like I could have, and I don't want to know. I don't want to know if I could have. I want to know for a fact that if I could or if I could not have. Not keep going. Well, I could have if I no. Let's go try. Let's go give this the old college try and let me see if I can really do this because I got the determination that if I put my mind to it, no matter what it is, whether if I got some experience in it or no experience in it, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna be a sponge. I'm gonna soak up everything I need to know, and I'm gonna get this figured out to inside and out.
Yeah. You know, I tell you something when like that's the other thing as well because I see so many people who quit too early, right? And it's like, and yes, obviously try, and if you fail, like fantastic, at least you tried. But at the same time, don't give yourself too many participation trophies, right? Because if you just give yourself participation trophies your whole life, you'll only ever put a little bit in and then go, well, I put a little bit in, and it didn't work out. And it's like, no, 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 no. If you're gonna try all the way. You know what I mean? Do it 100%, head first with self belief and self confidence that you can actually do it. You know what I mean? Delude yourself into like, I can do this. I can make this happen. I don't know how, but I will. But I will. I'll make this happen. And then have the humility to accept when it doesn't, right? So it's like this very interesting balance, but you will learn it and you will be able to do it if you try something and you just have to be honest with yourself. That's all you have to be. Is basically like I can do this. I can make this happen. You start doing it, blah blah blah. It starts going wrong. Starts going wrong. Okay. Try a bit harder. It's still going wrong. Okay, let's try a bit harder. Still going wrong. At that point, look at it and go, okay, I've got the honesty and the humility with myself to accept that, okay, this isn't working for me. I need to try it differently. I need to change up what I'm doing. I need to learn something here, right? Because that's how you learn. However, balance that with the self confidence and the self belief that, you know what, like I can do this because I'm going to learn, because I'm going to be great, because I'm going to commit to it, because I'm not going to stop doing it, And I know this. I know this for a fact. And I'll tell you exactly why. Because I've gotten into sales, and at first I was like, whole like I was getting beat up. I was getting so many rejections. I was getting so many people like turning me down, not turning up to calls. I was like, what is like? I must be doing everything wrong. God, I'm like, this isn't working for me. And then I was like, well, no, 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 no. Let me keep trying. Let me keep trying. So I kept trying. I kept trying, and now because I had the humility and honesty to accept that I was doing things wrong, I learned, and then I had the self confidence and self belief that I can actually make it work. And now I'm starting to see a lot of progress there, and I'm like, oh, like this is going pretty well. So it's just about understanding that balance, having the honesty and humility to accept when you are doing things wrong and learning, and then having the self confidence and self belief that every time you learn something new, you can come out of it and you can come out of it on top.
Yeah, man. Like you said, some things just has like even if it's subconscious has a initiation to it. Sometimes the universe, the world, God, however you want to look at it, is testing you to see if you really want this. Because anything worth having is going to take some work. It's not just going to come easy. It's going to take some work. So, and once you do have it, guess what? Everybody's going to come try to take it. So you gotta have some adversity and you gotta have some fight in you, or otherwise, everybody getting to that step or earning that wouldn't be as rewarding as it is. Some people are just going out there thinking, oh, well, I tried a couple times and it didn't happen. I guess I need to go try something else. And you're constantly putting your hands in everything, and then you never get anything done. There's this old saying done to me. I guess it was a story, but they said that it was a story of the buffalo and the storm, right? And where when the storm comes, a lot of the people on the land would, okay, the storm's coming. They pack up their stuff and they're trying to run and get ahead of the storm, and they're constantly running, trying to outrun the storm to get ahead of it, right? And then what they have is that they constantly have the storm on their tails, and then before you know it, you're in the storm, then you're running with the storm and you're caught up in the storm, rather than the buffalo will just sit there and weather the storm. They sit there, the storm comes, the storm goes, they're back fine wherever they at. They just weather the storm. And that's what leaders do. Leaders don't run from it. They sit there, they weather the storm, they figure it out, and they leave. You got to have self-confidence. You got to have your self-belief for you to be a good leader. Otherwise, you're not going to be a good leader. You're not going to be set up in the ways that you need to do to lead, whether it's your employees, whether it's your friend group, your children, whatever it is. You got to lead in a situation in life. So that's something that's instilled in every great leader, is learning how to weather the storm rather than trying to outrun the storm. And now you're in the storm longer than you should be. Just sit there, weather it, learn your lesson, and you're going to get experience from that, and you're going to know how to handle the next storm that comes.
Yeah. You know what's funny, actually? Great exercise is when you're on your good days, right? When things are going fantastic, journal the way you feel about yourself, journal the way that life, you're perceiving life, journal the way that your confidence is, everything. Just journal down how you feel on that day where you feel like it's a good day. Journal like it's the sun shines out. Oh, like I'm loving this and I'm doing this and I did that and well, I'm proud of myself and all this. Right, when you're having a good day like that, write it all down. When you have a bad day, when you have a really bad day, compare. Look at what you wrote when you were having a good day, and look and say, you know what? Compared to how I'm thinking about myself right now, what's different, right? When you wake up on that day where you're like, I'm a loser, I can't do anything, my life sucks, blah, 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 compare yourself to this day and say, what's different? And what you'll find is that nothing's actually different. It's just you woke up and your perception was worse today. That doesn't mean that you can, you can try flip it and make it a good day, but you might not be able to. You might just be having one of those days. There's a reason there's a saying, one of those days, right? So if you're having one of those days, just look at that, say, okay, well, I know that today is no different than a good day, which means that I can do the exact same thing that I did on a good day, even though I don't feel as though it's a good day. Right. And so that is self confidence. That's self belief because believing in yourself doesn't mean that you're never going to have a bad day, that you're never going to feel bad about yourself because you will. Right. It just means, though, that your self beliefs are mainly set up where you always have a positive outlook. And when you look at your self beliefs on that good day compared to when you're having a bad day, you can say, I do believe in myself. Yes. I'm just having a bad day. Right. And like, that's the thing. Like, you don't, I feel like people have a massive misconception where they believe self belief, self limiting belief, they believe that you have to be feeling good in order to um, basically feel good about life, if you know what I mean. So to believe in life, to believe in your progress, to believe in you as a person, you also have to feel good. Incorrect. You can believe in yourself as a person and believe in life and believe in what you're doing while still feeling like you're having a crappy day.
Yes. Yeah, bro. And that's like what we said too. And like for people too, they always try to compare their bad days to their good days. And you journal your good day, not to compare it to your bad day. You do it so you know that there are I did these certain things, they made me feel this way, for you to try to implement some things from a good day to make your bad day better. Your goal is not to compare your bad day to your good day. Your goal is to make sure that your bad day is better than your last bad day. Okay. Each bad day is better than the last one. I handle it better. I got more done, more productive. That's what you compete with. You're never trying to compete that bad day to a good day because it's never going to live up to it. That's why it's called a bad day. All right. So I just think for people just to understand that, because there's so many people's like, well, I was so good yesterday, then this day. It's like, don't worry about that, because we all have them different days. Stress comes, obstacles come, adversity comes. We got to fight back. But I got to do this. Like I said, the day ain't changed. I still got to get the same task done that I got done on my good day, on my bad day, right? The only thing is my mentality, my perception is changed on the outlook. So let's slowly start to change that a little bit. Like I said, then we focus on small wins. Then we start to focus on the things that we can do to make this day better than our last bad day. And journaling, writing things down, writing goals down. Like, people don't understand how powerful it is not to only have goals, but to actually write them down, because it triggers your mentality. I was told at a younger age too, make sure you write everything in blue ink when you write things down, because blue ink will help you memorize it even better than when you write down with black, because majority of the time you're writing in black, you write in blue, you're more likely to remember it. Another thing is, don't do autographs in blue ink though, because they're more easy to copy and transfer over. So there's all these little tricks that can come with it. But It's just writing down. Journals are very, very important in self-reflection and understanding why you was feeling the way in a certain day, whether it was a good or a bad day. That helps you understand what's starting to trigger these things and will make you react those ways and have those types of days. So journaling is always a good thing for everybody to do.
100%. I think it helps you realize where you are. I must admit, it's a habit I used to have a really like consistent habit of, and then I lost the habit of it. And you know what's funny is I started back up just recently, and immediately I noticed the effects coming back of just kind of having a bit more of a like a bit more clarity in my mind. Right, there was days where I was feeling as though I was a bit cloudy. Right, there was a lot going on inside of my head. Just brain dump on paper, and it's like it's crazy how much will just come out of you, and suddenly you'll just like feel a bit more alleviated, like you can think better again. And a great thing that I was just taught, which is the 3-2-1 strategy, right? So at the end of every day, before you switch everything off for the day, before you settle down, because that's one of the things I really struggle with is switching my brain off. um is the 3-2-1 strategy. So when you end your day, you say three things that you're grateful for the day. So whether that be because you're grateful for your mum, whether that be that you just feel grateful that you're here, whether that be that you're grateful you could, do work today, whatever it may be. You give three things that you're grateful for. Then you give two things that you're proud of yourself for. Right. So it's like you could say, I'm proud that I got the work done today. I'm proud that I got out of bed early today. I'm proud that I went to the gym today, whatever it may be. And the last thing is you do one thing that you could do better tomorrow. So that maybe I could go to bed on time. I could do more work. I could, go to the gym, right? Whatever it may be that you need to improve on, I could hit another PR, something like this, right? So it's three things that you're grateful for, two things that you're proud of, and one thing that you need to improve on for tomorrow. And that's it, right? And that strategy, though, is fantastic for just clearing your mind at the end of the day. Because you look at that and you go, oh, you know what? I've actually done a good thing today. Like I've actually been okay. And I think that's just a fantastic way of recognizing when you're putting yourself down, of recognizing when you need to improve upon something, right? Of also allowing yourself to be proud.
Yeah, no, that bro, that's good. I've never heard of that, and I'm gonna try that now. 3, 2, 1 strategy of everything. It's like, cause like I've heard so many other people's strategy. I always try to make sure when I wake up and I'll be thankful for everything. And there's days I forget that, and that's something I've been trying to do more. Because when I wake up, be thankful, give thanks for me breathing, me being here, another opportunity, another day. I'm here with my kids. I'm here to make money. I'm here to build network and opportunities with other people. So I'm always trying to wake up and make sure that I give thanks for the first thing. So, bro, that's perfect. Wake up, give thanks, and end the day with gratitude and self reflection. Perfect, bro. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So coming back to the conversation of your kind of like self belief and self confidence, I want to say that this is a way that you build self confidence as well. Is the two part, right? The two things you're proud of yourself doing. So many of us, and me, I'm a massive sucker for this. Don't we're not proud of ourselves for the things that we have done, right? I'm a massive, massive sucker for that, bro. I don't know about you, man. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm bad at doing it, and trying to give myself gratitude. 'Cause I feel, yeah, I'm that person that can't take compliments, bro. Because even when it's to myself, I'm like, yeah, but then this happened, and I'm like, take the damn compliment, bro.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly. So like for me, a big thing is I'm never showing myself pride. I'm never and we've discussed on this about pride, the sin of pride, right? There's being proud of yourself and then there's the sin of pride. And I think you have to understand that when you do something right, like you have to allow yourself to be proud of yourself. Because if you're not, you'll never get the reward matrix, right? And I call it the reward matrix, but essentially what I mean is the dopamine release from doing something that you were supposed to do, right? If you don't reward yourself for that, it's at the end of the day, your brain deep down isn't going to want to do it because it's like it's not rewarding, and deep down, although we have a lot of discipline and willpower, at the end of the day, we still are creatures of habit and we have instincts, right? And so our instincts and things work off of reward, not off of you've got to get this done today. Like that is willpower, and willpower only has a certain amount. Instinct doesn't. Instinct will keep on going. So if you continue to reward yourself for the good things that you do, your brain will rewire itself and become this massive reward center for doing hard things. and then it's like it comes to you almost instinctually. That's why people at the very, very top, you see them do things and they make it look effortless. It's because their reward matrix reward like they're instinctually being rewarded for doing hard things. And that's why they seem to succeed so much better than other people, because they have that wiring in their mind. So I think that's self confidence. You know what I mean? It is being proud of yourself and saying, you know what, I'm proud of myself because today I did XYZ thing that I set out to do. I put it on my calendar. I was there. I completed it. I got it done. Like I'm proud of myself for doing that. You know?
Yeah, no, and that's something like when I talked to somebody, they was trying to help me with that. 'Cause, like that's something I didn't do when I did certain things, hit certain achievements. Like especially in the social media world, when I started doing that, they're like, "Hey, you need to celebrate these goals and these victories." And that's not what I was doing. 100,000 followers didn't celebrate nothing. 500,000. It wasn't until I hit 1,000,000 followers that I actually did a celebration or something. And I just went out to eat and grabbed something to eat, bro. That's all I did. But even if it's that small, you still have to give yourself something that's a rewarding factor. And that's what the dude told me. He's like, I love candy bars. He's like, I love Snickers. So at the end of the week, if I do what I'm supposed to do and everything's right, I get me a Snickers at the end of the week. That's what I'm looking forward to all the time. So it's just the little bitty things, no matter what they may be, you just have to self reward. And for me, it was just because of like, okay, I came from that dark place for so much. I kind of, as bad as myself, like I have so much humbleness that even when I try to reward myself about doing certain things, I'm like, yeah, but if I wouldn't have done it, somebody else would have been able to do it. Somebody's done it before me. They're going to do it after me. So is it really spectacular that I really did it? Because somebody, and then I just take the win, bro. Take the compliment. You're overthinking certain things too much. Go celebrate. And I think that's what a lot of people have that issue with is that they kind of talk themselves down no matter what they do. They're like, well, somebody else could. And it's like, no, you're stop comparing yourself to other people. Take your win, take your build, take that victory right there and go treat yourself.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head, man. I'm the exact same. Coming from certain situations, you almost feel as though it's going to be negative if you give yourself that reward, because you think to yourself, if I give myself that reward, A, it's not just about the feeling of deserving it. It's B, it's like, well, my life has been XYZ up until this point. I can't because if I reward myself, then it might all crumble, And it's like, but the problem is our brains end up like really like burning out if we keep doing that.
Yeah, it's trying to find that line between, all right, celebrating wins and understanding what you're capable of and being humble, but also not being cocky because you can do this shit today and everything can be taken away tomorrow. And I don't want to be overconfident and over cocky and then I lose it all. And then, yeah, all that's constantly running through the mind. And it's just at times you just gotta like, just celebrate the moment. What happens in the future is going to happen in the future. What's happened in the past has happened. You can't change that. You can change what's in the future, but you're changing in the future by what you do right now in the present. Like you say all the time, be present in the moment, celebrate that win, give yourself celebration for what you did, and don't focus too much and try to be seeing what everybody else is doing. But that's not just focus on you and celebrate and be happy.
Yeah, 100%. And being present is a massive key to it. I talk about all the time, and I admittedly, again, another habit that has fallen off for me, is like meditation. Right, I preach about it, but I've started to fall off with it because it's difficult. And you see, this is why I say to people, like, please understand, like, I say these things from a place of like experience a lot of the time, because like I've tried to do a lot of things. I've done a lot of things. I've failed on a lot of things. And I look at my life now and I say, you know what, for my age, I've really like pushed it hard. And a lot of that I've never been proud of myself for doing until I've started to like journal things and meditate, right? And I think again, meditation massively helps you. It helps you analyze all aspects of your life, because when you meditate, it's just the awareness of your thoughts. That's all it is. That's all it is. There's no, I know there's guided meditations out there and things like this, but I honestly recommend to people just understand, like, it's just awareness of your thoughts, right? And if you're aware of your own thoughts, you'll be aware of how you believe, how you think about yourself, how you act, what you're proud of, what you're not proud of, and it'll also make you more aware of the mistakes you're making. And that's why I love journaling, because it's a very meditative thing to do, because you're writing down physically what you're thinking about, right? And you have to think about what you're thinking about, kind of thing. So, three things that you're grateful for is a great way to start. Two things you're proud of, and then one thing you can improve. It helps keep you humble, but it always keeps the wins slightly more than the losses, which I think is always a good feeling of progression, because it's like you're grateful for the life that you have, you're very present about it, but here's two things that you're proud of. So you've got 2 wins, and then you've got one thing you need to improve on. So you've only got one thing you need to improve on for tomorrow. And it's like 1% better every day, bro.
Yeah, bro, and I love that too because you said one thing you can improve on, and something that I was taught in early stages too is like with me battling my depression and my PTSD and everything when I was coming out, is that people would say, or my therapist at the time would say, "Hey, leave one thing undone every day. Have your to do list, but have one thing left undone every day. That way." The next day comes, you know that you have something that you can check off the box for tomorrow. So if tomorrow's a bad day, you've already gave yourself one small win of an alley oop, right? You already got one small win that you left undone today that you know you can get done. Some small little task. Hey, I didn't pick my clothes up today. So tomorrow I can go and pick up my clothes, put them in the hamper. There's me a small win. I might have not pulled the dishes out of the dishwasher. Okay, I pulled the dishes out the dishwasher today. There's my small win for the day. So just leaving one thing undone each day that you can go do will then help you build the confidence for a bad day where you're like, okay, there's one small win for me to build up off of at the beginning of each day.
Yeah, dude, that's huge right there, man. That's absolutely huge. And you know, I I truly think that I truly think that if people just start with something small like that, right? That small checkbox could be tomorrow. I'm gonna journal, right? Tomorrow I'm gonna do the 3-2-1 strategy, right? That they will see leaps and bounds over that year. You know, again, relating it back to myself, when I was living alone, one of the things that I must admit, I made mistakes when I was living alone. I was undergoing a very, very interesting time in my head, right? Like I was undergoing a complete war. But there was times where I basically I had this habit board, and I would track my habits. And so every day I would have it was exercise, it was walking outside, and it was reading. There was those 3 habits. That was it. That's all I focused on, and I had to do them every single day. And I think I got to a streak of like 152 days, reading and things like that. Yeah, so I was very, very proud of myself for that. And I remember I used to go outside. I'd sit under a tree, right, and I'd just pull out this book and I'd just read my books, right, or I'd listen to an audiobook. And something I learned about like myself when I was doing that is despite all the mistakes I was making, the one thing I understood was that giving myself that time, that peace, that moment to take a breath, to just read, to be by myself, to think by myself, to understand the world was like what sent me leaps and bounds to the position I'm at now. You know, I would never have become this self aware or this understanding if I didn't give myself that moment every single day. It was only like half an hour to an hour. That was it. But that moment meant more to me than everything else I was trying to do at the time.
Yeah, no, and you have to be honest with yourself in those moments, right? When you're meditating, when you're journaling and you're self-reflecting, you have to be honest with yourself. Now, I know everybody goes out there that we got some type of poker face we put on there. We have some type of shield that we wear for our thick skin so certain things don't get underneath our skins to let everybody know. So I get that we have all our little bitty personas that we have that we go out into the world with just for self protection. But in those moments, you have to be 100% honest with yourself, or otherwise, you're not truly doing self reflection. You're not helping building your self confidence. You're building something on a false foundation, and you want to make sure your foundation is sturdy, whatever you're building upon, even if it's your self confidence. So if you're already building upon a fake and phony persona of what you're lying and telling yourself, everything's going to eventually come crumbling down on top of it. So those moments, you got to be 100% honest with yourself.
Yeah, and you know what? That's exactly what happened to me actually. So this is the prime thing that I want to explain to people. Is this was exactly what happened to me when I was doing under the tree with the book and everything. That was when I was most myself and I most understood myself. But the moment I came back to doing the work that I was doing at the time, which I was trading and things, I was losing a lot of money and I was getting into some bad debt. I was essentially just gambling, was what I was doing. And I was losing, and I didn't want to believe in it because I believed myself to be this great person, but it was built on a falsehood, right? And so the only time, like this, is why that hour was so important to me. The only time where I was truly myself and truly understood myself was that hour that I was outside. And when everything came crashing down, the only piece of me that survived and the only piece of me that brought me through to where I am today was that 1 hour that I'd spend a day by myself with my books, meditating, understanding myself and the world, right? because that at least helped me have the self awareness to realize the mistake I'd made. You know, even though when I'd go back to the trading, desk, and I'd sit on my computer and open up the programs, even though when that happened, I would give myself a false sense of achievement and belief and things like this. At least in that 1 hour, I was telling myself who I really was. And so when it did all come collapsing down on the falsehood, I was able to sit there and say, you know what? I know who I actually am. I've just built the rest of my life around a falsehood. So let that crumble, and I let it crumble, and it was painful. It was dreadfully painful. A lot of hurt in the family, a lot of hurt for me. Everybody was like, this is insane. But then I said, okay, well, where do we go from here? Because I have at least this one piece of solid foundation that was built from an hour a day. This is why I'm saying you don't need to do a lot. We don't need to. You just need a small win, man. But an hour a day built me to the person I am today. And now, obviously, I work like 14 hours a day, just like improving myself on my sales, on my, trying to do content, like all this other stuff. Like I try my absolute hardest working like 12, 14-hour days. And sometimes I sit there and I think, you know what? I need to implement giving myself that hour back in my life, because if you don't, you'll never, you'll lose yourself. You really will. And so I think it's super, super important. Self belief, self confidence. Make sure you give yourself an hour every day just to realize who you truly are and build upon that.
Yeah, no, and bro, that right there was so much self awareness to know that hey, this is starting to slip out of my grasp. I need to start taking everything, deal with what damages is already done, reconstruct, rebuild. So, and then in that situation too, should build self confidence to hey, even if I go try something, I at least know that I have the know abouts in my mind that when things are starting to get out of hand, I know when I need to pull the shoot and pull out. So then you build up that confidence too. So sometimes a lot of people's like, well, I failed in this moment, but you don't realize what you're teaching yourself in those failures. Hey, I taught myself that in that moment, I know when too far is too far, and I don't go all the way. I know that I do know when to call it quits and not actually just give up too soon. So lessons can always be learned constantly, especially through your failures. You're always going to learn more through your failures than you ever will through your wins. So be out there. Don't be too scared to go out there and try things, and that'll help build up your self confidence as well.
100%. And you know what, as well? Sounds cliche, man. Don't be afraid to fail. Because again, like you said, you learn so much from failure, man. And I can tell you, despite all the pain that I went through with that failure, despite all the pain I'm still going through, I mean, it's not really over yet. There's still a lot of hurt, a lot of distrust, a lot of, every move I make, people are breathing down my neck. They're like, "Whoa, what is it?" Like they and I still look at it and say, but I'm so, so grateful, because if that didn't happen, I would have never had a new foundation to start from. I would have never had a real foundation to start from, right? Because, like I say, my old foundation was built on a falsehood, and the new foundation which came from that 1 hour of peace a day. I was able to build upon that instead, and now I'm more grateful for my family than I ever was. I'm more understanding of people's situations. I'm less like narcissistic, I'd say. I'd say at this point now I've built myself, I've built my ego in a way that is humbling, but also, like I say, self confident and self believing, right? Like I don't limit it. I don't allow my ego to have limits, but at the same time, I'm able to humble it and make it understand. Like listen, like you're not all that much. Not yet.
Yeah, no, and that's good to have because like that was for me too, was understanding that like I kind of built mine off of a false foundation when I was younger too, and not even knowingly doing it. I thought, I was okay because I was trying to constantly be the person that everybody liked. I want to make sure I'm the guy everybody likes and everybody likes me, and then nobody has a problem with me. But then I realized that if everybody likes you, that is a problem. That's a huge problem because you're not taking care of yourself, and everybody's just walking over you, using you, manipulating, taking kindness for a weakness. So you still have to figure out who you want to be because even in some moments I'm like, all right, I need to be like this and people will like me, and then if I go achieve this will make certain people happy, but then when I go and achieve it, I still didn't find happiness. I still wasn't proud of myself. So it doesn't matter who you're doing for. At the end of the day, you got to do it for you, because even if you do then go accomplish those goals that you have set, it's not going to resonate with the real you inside when you actually accomplish them, and you're going to be like, I accomplished what I set. Why don't I feel any better? Because you wasn't true to yourself, and that's why.
Dude, facts. You know, another great example. I used to have a career in engineering, right? And I've fully dropped that now. And it's like my career in engineering, I built it from when I was a kid. And, well, I say apparently because I don't even remember really saying it. But my dad remembers me saying that I always wanted to be an engineer. And I look back at my life and I say, did I? Did I really? Because I don't remember that really being me, and it's because I allowed the external factors in my life to make me believe that. And when I started doing well in engineering, everything started to collapse and I started to build other falsehood beliefs and go down that path that I went down. And it's like I look at my life and I say, well, isn't it funny how when I was doing something that I didn't want to do and I was believing in things that weren't true to me, when I would achieve something, I'd feel even worse about myself. And so I ended up going down a path that was even worse for me. And you know what? I'm having a crazy realization as I'm saying this. You know, this is where you know, I think a lot of self sabotage comes in, right? Because when you're doing something you don't actually truly want to do, when you're doing something you don't actually really care about, and you're achieving in it and you're doing well, but you don't really care about it, you will sabotage it. At some point or other, you will sabotage it, whether it's during a midlife crisis and you're 50-year-old, whether it's with your kids and you just ruin your kids' lives without even knowing it, whether it's with your wife, your girlfriend, your dog, you don't know, but I guarantee you, you will take that out on something in your life. And for me, I took it out on the markets. Right? I took out all my own money and just gambled everything. So
Yeah, no, because it's like what everybody says, right? If you bottle it up at some point in time, it's going to explode, right? It's either going to turn into some serious health issues or it's going to explode. And most of the time, it explodes on the undeserving party. Usually, usually that's how it happens. So, in that situation there, your inner self was just like, this is not what it needs to be. And self-sabotage usually is that right there when you're something is uncomfortable. And that's why some people it's hard to get out of self-sabotage. In this situation for you, it was good. It was getting you out of routine and a rut that you knew you didn't want, that your inner self knew that, hey, we're going down the wrong path. Let's go ahead and start fixing this shit since you ain't getting it, Niles. Let's push you a little further. Right. But most times, some people do self sabotage sometimes because of bad habits coming around, and then that's what's felt normal is the toxic relationship. So then, when a good relationship comes around, you start self sabotaging without realizing that you've already programmed your body to be the toxic things and the bad things into your life. So when good comes around, you start self sabotaging, and you wonder why all the bad people are around you can't get good people, but because you keep self sabotaging the good people and you keep running to the bad because that's what's been familiar. You got to start retraining your body and your mind to do the uncomfortable thing now because the comfortable thing is the bad thing because you've been doing it so much. Actually, the uncomfortable thing is the good thing now. So you just have to, like I said, self reflect and know yourself and know which one it is.
yeah, 100%, man. Because you know, and it will help you make sacrifices that are necessary in your life as well. Like you're saying, when you truly know what you want and what you need to get rid of in your life, things like this, you'll also understand some of the sacrifices you've got to, whether that be with family members, whether that be with friends, whatever it may be. You might have to distance yourself from people, you might have to leave people behind, you might have to leave people in a position where they don't know whether or not they're gonna be okay, right? And again, I'm speaking from experience. I know because I'm literally going through it, and as I just had this realization on this podcast as we speak, when you're doing something you don't want to do, other people may be proud of you, but you have to sacrifice their pride in you, right? So you have to make them disappointed. You have to make them hurt. You have to maybe they'll cry. Maybe they'll lose love for you, right? And if that has to happen, I'm afraid it has to happen because that's life. And it's important that you do what's right for you to put yourself in a position where you then have an abundance of love to give, when you have an abundance of finance, when you have an abundance of health and wellness, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is that you want to succeed with or anything of the sort, understand that if you're doing something you do not want to do and you tell you tell your parents or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, but what do you mean you don't want to do that? Like, I thought that's what we love doing that. And you're like, no, I don't want to do that. And then they fall out with you. Let them go and focus on the thing that makes you fulfilled. Because again, when you're dying, right, when you're dying, you're not going to look at life and say, oh, I'm glad my life was always great with my family. And it's like, but the truth is, you didn't always actually want to be around your family. You might love them to pieces, but you didn't always want to be around them. You wanted to do bigger things. And it's like, live the life in motion, man. Live it in motion. Go through those moments because they are beautiful. They are beautiful. They remind you we're alive, bro. We're alive. You know?
Duh, it's like what we say on here, right? The trees don't hang out with the grass, even though they came from the same soil, right? It's just that, and you got to understand too that that dream or that vision you have in place was only given to you, so you can't expect everybody else to see your dream and your vision and what you're going to have to see. That they're not going to support you until you make it. That dream and that vision you got wasn't a conference call. Okay, it was one on one. It was just you, so nobody else is going to see it until you lay out the footwork and show them. Okay, so go out there, put in the footwork, because they're not going to believe you until you show them that you're capable of, because they don't have the belief, because they're trying to push and inflict their self doubts on you. They don't have the same self confidence that you have in yourself that they might have in themselves. So you can't be like, well, I share my dream with them and they don't think it's possible. They don't believe in me. Well, of course not, because they don't have the belief that you have within yourself. Don't let that deteriorate you. Have your self belief. Push forward. Go chase your dream. Your dream was not a conference call. It was meant just for you. So go out there, attack it, and then once you're able to show them, because they're not going, you can't articulate what they're going to be able to see and how you're going to be able to do it, because a lot of people's like, that's impossible. But everything was once impossible until somebody went and did it. So just go ahead and do it. Once they see you're able to do it, they're like, okay, all right, I see you now. You are doing things, man. Props to you, this and that. And you're never too old. Note to self, man, you are not too old to start right now. No matter what your age is, where you at, you're never too old. Life is still a lesson. So many people started designing, getting their acting roles, getting their first stylist designs on Broadway, and they was 40. So you're not too old. Just sit there, have confidence in yourself. Don't let other people's self doubt afflict upon you and stop you from doing what you really want to do and what you really feel like you're meant to do.
Yeah. I mean, prime example is always in sports. Nobody ever thought you could run like a 10-second, was it like a 10-second quarter mile or something like that? And then it was beaten and it was like 9.5, and then it was 9, and then it was 8.5, and then it was 8, and then it was 7.5, or like 7.7 or whatever. Like, again, people don't think it's possible until you achieve it. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, and again, like you're saying, Leonard, it wasn't a conference call. Dude, that's so, so true. At the end of the day, the belief that you got, and that you were given that purpose, that calling. I would call it a calling because it truly is. I think anybody who is connected with themselves enough to be sitting here and watching this podcast and trying to find advice and trying to move forward with their life, anybody who's connected enough to do that knows that they have a calling. You know, right? You know that you have a calling, and you're sat there and you're thinking to yourself, there is something here for me. There is something. And it doesn't have to be, number one. You don't need to be number one. You could be, you know, number one in other ways, right? And when I say number one, I'm talking about the number one of the world, right? So like let's say you want to stream, you want to be a streamer, a YouTuber, whatever, right? You don't have to be number one in in the whole of YouTube. Maybe you only need to be number one in your space. Maybe you only need to be number one with your fans, right? You don't need to be like the number one of number ones, but you can still be number one of a certain aspect of life.
Yeah, bro, because and especially to kind of put this for you and like content creator world, because this is a good example for that, is that you don't constantly want to be, oh, I want to be the most followed, have these many, this and that. You just want to make sure you're actually hitting the audience and the market that you're actually trying to help. Whatever your niche is, whatever value you're providing as a content creator, you're trying to make sure that you are providing value to that audience. So it's cool, you can have 10 million, but if you're not providing anything for them, that 10 million ain't gonna be nothing. So for me, it's always been, I want to help people. I want to try to give them, re-energize to go back into the world, so that on dark days I can try to help them make feel better on their when they're in those dark places. I want to try to pull them back out into the light. So me was, I don't care if I'm number one and got all these. I just want to make sure that I'm reaching the right people, that I can help those who need that help. And that's the thing. You don't have to be number one. You just have to realize what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish, and you just go accomplish that. You ain't got to be the best at it. You just got to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Let me point you in the direction of my dad again, like I say, fantastic, fantastic bloke. And we look at his God given purpose and we say that, he was never a big famous guy and so far anyway. Like I say, he still believes that he's going to make it somewhere, somehow, right? However, the one thing I'll say about my dad is all of the lives that he's touched, all of the people that he's spoken to, all of the situations he's been through, etc. He has touched so many lives. It's incredible. And yet, like I say, he's not number one of the world. He's not even well renowned. The only people that truly know him are the people that have actually met him. And those people have always, always said, "You are one of the best guys I've ever met. You've given me the best advice. You were always right. You always had the right instinct. You were just right. And I wish I listened to you before. Or when I listened to you, my life improved." Right? Like this is literally exact examples. Okay, that there's been musicians that have come through his door that have gone on to London and signed record deals. Right? There have been people who have come through his door who have been to prisons, and he's let them sleep on his couch, and they've then gone off to get an actual job, do really well with themselves. Right? There's been all these amazing people, and again, my dad is in the eyes of the world, he's a nobody, but to the people that know him, he is number one.
Yeah, bro. Because you don't have to be a big person to make a big impact in this world. A few small acts of kindness can actually do something different in the world. You got to be the change you want to see, right, in this world. And it doesn't mean you got to be the change at a global scale. Sometimes just a small change for a few people will pay it forward, right? Like we was talking about last episode. You can do something and it will then karma will continue to pay it forward and help people and it can be the change. Sometimes the smallest thing can just be smiling at somebody and it brings up their day. Sometimes it can just be helping spare with somebody with a spare tire, helping bring in something small can make a change and an impact in the world. You don't have to be able to just do it at a global scale. You just need to be able to do it at your scale. And if everybody did it at their scale, then it will make a global change. But you first have to be the change you want to see in the world.
So true, man. So true. You cannot preach this stuff enough, man. You really can't. And again, that all comes from how you believe in yourself, the confidence that you have in yourself, and ultimately the humility and just basically making sure that you don't put limits on yourself and what's possible. Like I said at the start of this podcast, brother, it would be actually beneficial if you almost just didn't believe in anything. Because if you didn't believe in anything, to some degree, you would never put a limit on yourself. However, that would be a very, very crappy life. Like, let's be honest. If you never had any belief in anything, you would just be kind of blown by the wind because you never really tried. Right? I mean, I say this. I mean, Buddhists are prime examples. Like they live a peaceful life. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. But like I say, if you want to be successful and things like this, and your aim isn't to become a Buddhist, but instead to support your family, to have a good relationship, to find a good wife, a good husband, raise a good family, whatever your aim is in life, just understand that make sure the beliefs that you have are not limiting you to being a bad person, to being somebody who is building a life on a falsehood, right? Make sure your beliefs are set in humility. Make sure your beliefs are set in confidence. Make sure your beliefs are one on one with you, not external, right? And lastly, make sure your beliefs are unwavering. I think that's what I'm going to leave it with. Yeah, unwavering.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we're about to wrap it up as well. So I want to pose this question and you can feel free to answer this as well. But I want to definitely pose this question to the audience and see and y'all can put it in the comments for us. If you're on here on YouTube, you can put it in comments for us. If you're on Facebook, you can come put it in there in the comments for us or even on one of our posts. But uh my question is if you can go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice to boost self belief or self confidence, what would it be? And that's what I want y'all to see. I want y'all to put in the comments what's one piece of advice you would give your younger self about self confidence or self belief. And that way, hopefully, even if there's other people coming around, we can help each other with each other's advice. So maybe what you would have gave your younger self, somebody still might have not learned that advice, and it can help us. So help each other. So make sure we'll put down in the comments what your answers be to that. And Niles, if you want to answer, I feel free.
I think I might just answer, just as a final piece. I think if there's one piece of advice I could give my younger self to make him believe in himself, is that look at the life other people are living that are telling you to go about things a certain way. As in, if somebody's giving you advice or telling you to do something, look at the position they are in. Are they in the position that you want to be in? If not, stop listening to them and listen to yourself. Right? That's what I gotta say.
Yeah, bro, that's so good, right? And I tell people that in relationships, like, why you go to your single friends asking for advice? You wouldn't go ask a homeless man how to get a house, would you? So why are you gonna ask a single person how to retain a man or a woman when they've shown that they can't retain, right? That's such a good one. Um, for me, it's don't doubt what you've already proven to yourself that you're capable of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Don't doubt what you're what you've already proven to yourself that you're capable of. So many times that I would go through the same thing over and over, and then when the obstacle come, I'm like, I did it last time, but I'm not sure if I can do it this time. And then as I got older, I started to understand that why am I getting stressed in these situations? I've already proved that I can make it through it. Just we know it needs to be done. Let's go ahead and go do it. So yeah, don't doubt what you've already proven to yourself that you're capable of.
Dude, absolutely incredible. Like Leonard said, guys, be sure to answer that question in the comments. One piece of advice that you would give your younger self to boost your self confidence and your self belief. All right, Leonard, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you as always, my man. I am dead excited to talk to you the next time. Guys, be sure to tune in next time. Every Friday, we're uploading a podcast. You know how it is. Fuel for Growth is on its way up, brother.
Yes, sir.